Hello, my name is Dr. Hatfield, and I'm here today to introduce you to the Learning Environments Moodle website. Before I begin, I would like to share with you the three objectives that I have for this course. The first one is the preparation for the Praxis PLT exam. That is a summative exam, and it's all teachers to receive licensure in the state of Tennessee. It's the only state required exam that teachers have to pass. The content knowledge exams, those are all required by the colleges and universities. But this is one test that you'll have to pass, and even because most of the test questions are environment related on the PLT, I thought this was a good way to be able to help prepare you for that exam. The second objective for this one is to help prepare you for that team model evaluation, and specifically the environment evaluation, and that's sometimes given toward the end of the year. And third, the SACS history component. And what I mean there is for those K-6 teachers, if you're a K-6 teacher, you need to incorporate within your lesson plan. That's a collaborative experience, okay? So you don't have to worry about it that much. But you need to include a component of history within your lesson plan before you submit it. And that's K-6 teachers only. If you're a secondary major, and that's math, social studies, science, English, whatever subject that you're in, you can go ahead and create that or develop that lesson plan, that team model or the environment lesson plan within your specific discipline. So let me go back. Here we go. Let me start at the very beginning here. This is the website. As you can see, these are active links. This is, like, for instance, I have right here week 1. This is week 1. It'll take you to an outside source, and what this means is you don't have to log on to Moodle to access this information. You may find this information during a link on my website under www.dr-hatfield.com. It's under courses. It's at the very top tab, and you can click on that and find it there too. But I will provide you with this link through an email. But this is, they're identical sites. This site and the Moodle site are identical, with the exception that you can't upload your assignments or you can't participate in your team discussion from this. But you can access Moodle from this site. The only reason why I created that site is to make it easier for you to work through this course. The next thing that I want to talk about before you begin anything, and let me spotlight this. You can see that this is the pretest. Before you begin any information, please take the pretest. I'm doing this pretest to kind of give you insight as to how well that you may do on the Praxis exam. If you blow this pretest out of the water, there's a good possibility that you may not need to take this, with the exception of the midterm exam, which is a writing component for this particular course. But please, before you open up any articles to read, before you do anything, please take this pretest. It's a 50-question test, and it doesn't count against you. It just gives you an assessment to let you know where you are in this course. So with that said, let me move to the next one. The two assignments that I have, assignment 1 is, like I said in the second objective, this is to create an environment lesson plan. I have links on here. You can see that this is the scoring and evidence template. This is kind of like a rubric to help you score your lesson plan. Now, this is please listen very carefully. This is the important part about this assignment. This is a collaborative effort. And what I mean by that statement is that you can work together. I like groups of 3. If there's 3 members in a lesson plan, or 3 members that work collaboratively to create this lesson plan. The reason why I want to do that is because I am very big on the social aspect of learning, and I think that a collaborative experience is great. You can use your learning team. You can use peer instruction. You can use anything that you want to use, but I want a collaborative experience with this. The only restrictions that I say that might be if you're secondary, you kind of may need to stick with a secondary teacher, and then again you have the problem of discipline. If you're an English teacher, you may want to teach with somebody with close ties to English, or if you're math, you might want to kind of stick with math or science. But there's nothing wrong with cross-disciplinary type the creation of a lesson plan. That would even be better. So, but for K6, Here's another part for, like I said, on our the third objective is to incorporate a history component within this lesson plan, and that's for K-6 teachers only. So, so if you're a K-6 teacher, remember that when you're during your collaborative exercise, create the lesson plan with a history or social studies component. And once you're finished, you can see that I have, this is a really good video. This is a video of a teacher that has created lesson plans, and his entire goal is to score 5. And remember, that's what we have to do. We want 5s out of our lesson plans, and he gives some very helpful tips and tricks on how to achieve that 5 score, the 5 out of 5 points. So, but this is something that the environment asks for, that SEL, social and emotional learning aspect. So you may want to make sure that students are treated fairly and equally. You want to make those statements and comments throughout that lesson plan. And find ways. Be creative. Try to find a way that you can make connections between everything in the evidence template or the rubric there. And that's how your lesson plan is scored. Try to make connections between there and statements in the lesson plan so that there's no doubt that you're going to have to receive a 5 on this. Again, it's a collaborative experience. I'm looking for one lesson plan for each group. Now, if you want to do this individually, that's fine. It's just that I really like peer instruction. I like the collaborative effort because you learn so much more during that process. There may be somebody in a group that may have the answer or solution, and that might be a lifetime solution from that point on, especially when you're developing lesson plans. Enough on that. But when you're finished, after you're finished, this can be uploaded at any point throughout the course. Just make sure it's done by the third week of the course. But this is the upload link for it there. The next assignment, again, it's a direct response to the first objective, and that's the preparation for the Praxis exam. As you can see, I have articles listed. There's 13 articles, and what I've done is I've gone out and I've tried to find some of the most difficult concepts that are on the Praxis exam. I've looked at questions, I've studied questions, I've read, purchased the books that have a series of questions and practice tests and things like that will help you identify and learn the concepts that are related to the Praxis exam. I'm teaching this course conceptually. And what I mean there is the article. You may have 1 or 2 questions on the Praxis exam directly related to transfer learning, and this is the article that you would read. You don't read the whole article, just the component on transfer learning, and that's why you need to kind of read where the assignments are to find out because there are some articles that may be 30 pages long, but you only have to read 3 pages out of that 30-page article. So be very careful. Make sure you look at the assignments to do that. But that's a link on transfer learning. Once you read the article, you take notes on it. Then what I'd like for you to do is right under here, there's also a link to the article here. I have a link, transfer learning article link right here. You can click on it and reopen it here. But you reply in the way of a discussion. And when you make when you reply, I'm looking for about 5 or 6 responses in a discussion environment. And let me kind of go back and share with you a concept. It's called the Harkness Seminar, Harkness Discussion. There's a lot of names for it, but let me share with you. This will make sense, a little bit better sense in just in a moment. But this video, this is the Harkness Seminar video. Go to this page. This is after you take the pre-test, of course. But go to this page and watch this video. Read some of the other associated articles. I'm going to move this up. But watch it from the beginning because it's really interesting. But I want to take you to the Harkness Seminar page where they're actually discussing the Harkness Seminar. If I can find it here.
That kind of engaged conversation. Guidelines for the student will fill. Another role is a little map where one student is monitoring who's speaking when, and they draw these sort of diagrams so that there's a visual map of how the conversation is going.
The other thing I just want to point out, since I'm showing these to you, is would you say this is a good
This is an example of the map that I want to create for each one of our seminars. And what I'd like to do is to assign each one of these topics, each one of these articles that one of you create. I'll create the first one to kind of give you an idea as to what I'm looking for. But this is exactly what I'm trying to achieve. And by looking at this one, she says, "Does this look like it's a good discussion?" And you can see all the connections. Every time someone makes a contribution in a discussion, there's a line that's drawn from their names. And you can see as that table in the oval shape kind of looks like a table, and you can see where they make their contributions. And if you look at this map, you can say, yes, that is a very good discussion.
Conversation? Yes. How about that?
And then secondly, if you look at this map, and I'm going to show you one in a minute that I'm going to use for this process. If you look at this map, you can see that the discussion is kind of one-sided. Out of all the strategies that I've ever used in the classroom, and it doesn't matter what the subject is. I've used this in science, I've used it in chemistry, I've used it in math. Whatever discussion that you have, this is the most formative. This is a formative assessment or formative evaluation. So it's a formative formal. So, which means you can actually take a score from this during the students' discussion. You can look at them. You can look at the students who aren't participating, such as in this example, and say, listen, Mark or Eric, you need to kind of make a little bit more contributions during these discussions. And what happens is the students, once you do this once, and it's kind of magical. Once the students do this, you can see an effort toward making these contributions to the discussion. And it's just kind of one of those things. It's just one of the most successful strategies that I've ever used in a classroom is the Harkness discussion or seminar, whatever you want to call it. But watch this video. This is an important video to watch. You can see that I have a blank template here. This is actually a blank. It's a PDF file, and it's created by Edutopia. And but I've also created one here, and this is an example. So, and what I have is this is a Microsoft Word template. And what I'd like to do is kind of share this with everybody. I'll make a link to it so that you can access it, and you can just type in the person's names for everyone so that we'll know who's in the class. And you can see that I've marked on this already. But if I wanted to mark on this page, what I would do is I would go to View and or Review and start my inking. And like if Mary and Christian have a discussion, I would draw a line from here to there. And each one of these points, this point from Christian to Mary represents a line of discussion between those two individuals. And you can see that if I were to count these, and let's say Mary and William had a discussion, and William and Taylor had a discussion, and then we go back up to Christian had a discussion, you can see how this Harkness seminar, how this map will build and can let you as a teacher evaluate the students' discussion. You can see if it's one-sided. You can see if some of the students who are not discussing. And this is kind of like one of those roles that you give the duties to the students. You can have a moderator, and that the moderator is the person who leads the course. They're the one who keeps the questioning going, who use all different types of questioning techniques that they develop. They can learn debate skills, everything. This really gives them confidence in carrying on conversations. So the one moderator, and of course on an online discussion, I guess we can have a moderator, and the moderator could be the person who says, if you're not making a discussion, why aren't you? And you can kind of hold their feet to the fire to get them to start making contributions to the discussions. So that's something that we'll probably do during our discussions. But here, this is an example of mine, and you can see right here, if the teacher, I'm the facilitator. I'm not the moderator. I'm not a participant. I'm a facilitator. I want to make sure that the students have learned the information, brought it to the discussion, and discussed it among themselves. So you don't want to see a whole lot of links coming from the teacher, because they will make them. And you don't want to look as though that you're the person, the teacher, the classroom teacher, to start having all these links coming from your name, because that would kind of void the discussion and the whole purpose behind it, which is the collaborative experience. But this is the Harkness Seminar technique. I love it. I can't promote it enough. But this is a website that I've created with a host of information about it. And again, this is where you can find the blank template, so that if you get your classroom sometime in the future, you know where that you can start this in a rush. But let me go back to the Moodle website. And again, that's our reading assignments. So in a nutshell, the reading assignments, what we're going to do is it's kind of like a flipped classroom. You read the articles, you prepare, you annotate, you take notes. Then you go to the Harkness seminar during the week that they're assigned and just start the discussion. And everybody starts discussing the concept, or like in this particular case, transfer learning. And I do realize that some of the articles are more informative. There's not a whole lot that you can discuss, and I'll take that into consideration, and I do know and understand that. Your participation, to me, again, I'm a participatory type individual. I like people who actually participate in the process, and that's where you gain your points in my book. But if you scroll down, you can see there's 13. There's 13. These are all the discussions. I'm looking for about 5 or 6 different legitimate powerful discussions in the group. Please don't use rhetoric to make those connections. I'm looking for actually legitimate contributions to the discussion, and leave out the rhetoric as much as you possibly can. All right, but back to this again. Let me kind of cover week 1. You can see that transferred learning is due, visual literacy is due, the explicitly supporting reading and writing in the classroom is due, and the word wall is due. And then I love the word wall. I'm a huge advocate for introducing vocabulary in the classroom. And the reason why I say that, this is a research document. You can see that if you want your children to be successful, if you want your students to be successful, they need to be exposed to as many words as possible during the day. You can see that this is a family status of welfare students. They're exposed to approximately 616 words a day. These are students who typically score in this 20th percentile, and we want our students to move to the right on that curve, so that they're in the 70th and 80th percentile. And one of the ways you do that is you expose them early on to very strong vocabulary words. You can see a working class individual that they're exposed to 1,200 words a day, and of course the professional, they're exposed to 2,100 words a day. Now there's a lot of research that supports. There's so much evidence that supports the idea that the more exposure that children have to vocabulary and strong vocabulary, the better their achievement scores. So I'm a huge advocate for this. But that's week 1. You have those reading articles. You can see that week 2, you have reading assignments are the definition of assessment, what are objectives, activating prior knowledge, and funds of knowledge for teaching project. Now, like I said, there may be 2-3 questions on the praxis that are related to each one of these articles, and that's why you need to kind of look at them very closely. And before I start talking about the theorist, let me explain to you the midterm exam. The midterm exam is a praxis. A component of the PLT exam is that you have to have a writing component. And if you scroll down to the bottom, if I can find it, you can see right here the how to approach the constructed response questions. And a lot of this is where the environment component comes by. So this may be a good link to help you answer the questions on the midterm exam. But again, here's a midterm exam. There will be a link here that you upload this. And this is something, again, just like the lesson plan, I'm looking for collaborative experience. However, in the midterm, they can be duplicate, they can be identical, but I need, again, like as with the lesson plan, if you make a contributions, I need to see some kind of link to your name, and I want to see everybody's. I need to know the group members of the group that submit the midterm or what have you, and I want to see very good responses to the questions on this and what they're looking for. And that's where you need to go down and look at this link again to kind of the constructed response questions. Those will help you very much to kind of give you an idea of what they expect for the midterm exam for this part. Now, the biggest problem that I have with this is that this, during the actual praxis exam, you only have 20 minutes. So you have to learn to construct these answers very quickly and give them what they want. Don't write a book by any stretch of the imagination. You have to be very quick. I mean, 1, 2, 3 paragraphs. You have your introductory paragraph, the body, and then a quick conclusion, even if you have a conclusion. But remember, you'll have about 20 minutes for each one of these constructed response questions. That's part of the praxis. And again, I love the idea, the concept of a collaborative environment. However, I want an equal contribution to each member of the group. If you make a contribution to the midterm exam, make sure that you assign your name to it in parentheses somewhere, somehow. So, but that's the midterm exam. That can be completed. This has to be completed by the beginning of the third week of school. So, or of this course. So that's the midterm exam. All right, back to finally. I think this is the last thing that I'm going to talk about is the theorists. For each one of these weeks, I have associated theorists. This is part of the final exam. The Albert Bandura, Lev Vygotsky, Jean-Claude Piaget. These are all theorists that are on the PLT Praxis. So if you were to click on these and go to Albert Bandura, the Bobo doll or Boo Boo doll, whichever way you want to call it, we all know that this is what Dr. Bandura is famous for. And that concept is modeling. If you watch this, on each one of these links I have given, remember what's the number one learning modality, which is 83% of all learning comes from the visual processes. That's why I have a picture of Bandura on the top of the page, and usually have an associated videos that you can watch and maybe something to read. But remember, you don't want to have a whole lot of input of information because you need to be able to recall this during a very stressful time. I'm not a good test taker because I stress out, and the whole purpose behind this course is to kind of alleviate some of the stress. But I have, for each of these courses, the only way that I have to assess you for reading these is that it's on the final exam. And here we go. I have Lev Vygotsky. Let me open up one here down here. That there's Erik Erikson. John Dewey, Howard Gardner, he's on all over the Praxis. There'll be 2 or 3 different kind of Praxis exams on here for you. And I have, like I said, I have a couple of associated video. This is a self-directed part of this particular course. You need to make an effort to go through these theorists. You need to set aside time. Learn the theorists that I have listed here because, like I said, there may be 2 or 3 questions on the Praxis that are related to each one of the theorists that I have listed here. There's Carol Tomlinson. She's on here for differentiation. I hope she is. Yeah, there she is, Carol Tomlinson. That's for differentiation. That's important. And there's a couple others that I'm going to be working on to try to get information. This is a work in progress for me for a couple of years. I do what I can do when I have time to do it, I guess, is the way to say it. But now this is... that's pretty much a summary of this course, what my expectations are. Remember the collaborative experience for the lesson plan. That doesn't mean I want someone else to create it for you. You have to make an equal contribution. The same thing for the midterm exam. I want you guys to work together as a team environment, as a learning team, and be able to master the midterm exam. Master the Praxis exam, the written component of the Praxis PLT, and that's the whole goal. But again, let me remind you, please. At the very top here, I'll have a checklist. Again, and I know you're familiar with this because you've seen it in the past. As you see the progression bar go across, you'll see if there's one of the discussions that I don't see that you're doing very well in, I may uncheck it. And what that tells me is you haven't met my minimum number of contributions to discussion. Like I said, try to make at least a minimum on the short documents 5 discussion contributions during the Harkness seminar process. And if you're a moderator of that particular course, you may want to poke and prod people to get them to make those responses. But let's see. And then secondly, but keep an eye on that track bar. If that goes all the way across and it's 100% green and you scored right around a 70% on the final exam, and if you take this course seriously and you work through each one of the topics and progress through it, do the theorists, study the articles, there's absolutely no reason why you can't make 70s, 80s, and if you score 70 or around a 70, I give points. You'll earn 100% of the points for participation, and there's no reason why you shouldn't receive an A, but it does take an effort. And please work on if it's due week 1, turn it in week 1. If it's due week 2, make sure everything gets completed and turned in by week 2, because the 4th week, we actually, even though this is a 5-week course, we only have actually 4 weeks to kind of complete it and get everything done. So you need to really make an effort. My last day is the final exam. That's down at the bottom of this test. It'll be open. Please, on the pretest or anything like that, this is not the whole purpose behind me making this a 70% mastery for the final exam is take the pressure off. I'm not looking that you score 100% on this particular test, please. Because my focus is not this particular course. My focus is that you're successful when you sit down to take that praxis exam, the PLT praxis exam, and pass it. So please, there's so many ways to cheat online, on tests, on exams. Don't copy and paste these questions. I ask that you not do that because I want to know where you are. I want you to feel comfortable so that when you walk in to take that praxis exam, that you know that you'll be successful. And that will be determined by the midterm exam and by the final exam. And that's all I have. If you have any questions, I will send an email to you with my contact information, my phone number, my email address. You can text, call, whatever, however you want to communicate with me, please do so. And if you have any questions at the very top of this page, I don't know that I'll monitor it a lot. I'll try my best, but if you have questions, please post it here, and we'll see if we can't. If I can't answer it, maybe one of the other members in this group can answer it. So again, thank you for your time and effort.